Welcome. I'm Doug Sesserman, CEO of AABGU, American Associates Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, and welcome to #Webinar Wednesdays, our 19th webinar since March, and this one I'm particularly excited about. As you know, the American Associates of Ben-Gurion University helps build awareness and ultimately resources for Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, one of the most important institutions to the future of Israel, and one who was rated by PitchBook as one of the top 50 universities in the world for entrepreneurship. This webinar is dedicated to that subject, kind of the secret sauce of the startup nation. We have great panelists who have joined us from Israel. It's 7 p.m. there. We have Josh Pelleg, Donna Gavish Friedman, and Gadi Bahat. So thank you all for joining us. And as you remember, for those who are new or those who have joined us before, to ask questions during this webinar, you just click on the Q&A function. I'll be able to read those questions and get them to our panelists. The way the program will work is each panelist will speak for about 12 or 13 minutes, and then we will use the last 20 minutes or so of the program to ask questions. So once again, thank you all for joining us to #Webinar Wednesday. Josh Pelleg, we're going to start with you. So Josh Pelleg is the Chief Executive Officer of BGN Technologies, which is the tech transfer company of Ben-Gurion University. He's been in that role for just 7.5 months, and what a time to join Ben-Gurion University. Prior to getting there, Josh has more than 20 years of experience in both as a lawyer and executive, as well as a civil servant. Prior to joining BGU, he served as the CEO and head of the commercial unit of Syngenta Israel. He also worked before as at the Foreign Trade Administration of the Israel Ministry of Tourism, Industry, Trade, and Labor, where he served as Israel's commercial attaché in Mexico. Josh has his undergraduate degree from the University of California in Berkeley and his law degree from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Josh, welcome to #Webinar Wednesday.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you all for inviting me and having me on this this live webinar. Hopefully, at some point, we'll make it live in reality, and we'll be able to come there and lecture to you, or even better, have you come to Ben-Gurion University, where we can do a live presentation for you and show you all the wonderful things that we're doing.
Sounds
what
great.
I'd like to do.
I understand for the audience that you have a PowerPoint you'd like to share and help teach us what is tech transfer.
So I'll go straight into it. My screen is on. So let me tell you a little bit about tech transfer from the Israeli experience, and particularly the Ben-Gurion University experience. Ben-Gurion University has a technology transfer company called BGN Technologies, which I head up. The technology transfer company has the purpose of, has a number of different purposes here in Israel. First of all, we bring the technological innovation from the university, from the researchers in the university, to the market. We patent new technologies, groundbreaking technologies, and then we look for potential companies that would be interested in taking those patents and developing them into products, or we spin out companies of our own and create a company around those products. At the same time, we do quite a bit of work to promote collaborations between the industry and the university. So we will look for partners in the industry that are interested in the type of research and the type of applied research that we do at Ben-Gurion University, which I'll talk a little bit about. And that research then turns into a collaboration and eventually finds its way out into the real world through those collaborations. And at the same time, we have an additional function which many tech transfer companies don't necessarily have, which is we're an integral part of building a an entrepreneurial and innovative infrastructure in Beersheva, around Ben-Gurion University, and in the Negev region in general, which I'm sure that many of you are familiar with, is a desert region which has a lack of industry and a lack of employment opportunities, certainly in the high-tech sphere. And one of our purposes is to develop an infrastructure which allows to attract investment into that area, multinationals that will come, and startup companies based on our technologies. Just a few words about what we do. We've launched more than 100 companies based on technologies and innovation coming out of the university. We've raised over $500 million in funding for those companies, which have employed at different times more than 1,000 professionals in the area. And all of that through different devices, including technology accelerators, incubators, innovation hubs, which I'll show you here in the following slide. The type of work that we're doing at Ben-Gurion is very, very, very multidisciplinary. It's quite varied, which is unusual for universities. In Israel, we have everything from pharma to a very strong engineering department with cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics. We have a nanotechnology fab in the university. We have a strong bent on desert tech, environment. So we really have a very wide range of activities, which gives a tremendous advantage to multidisciplinary innovative technologies, which I want to talk about because I believe that this is one of the key areas of the future in terms of the development of new technologies in Israel. So we have BGN Technologies, which is as I said, the tech transfer company of the university. We have many partners that work with us and that we are involved with in partnerships. On the left side, you can see JVP, Capital of Nature, which are incubators, technology incubators, which are one way that we are able to get our technologies out into the market. They provide seed funding for those technologies. We have our own homegrown activities, which Donna will talk more about, but there's Cactus Capital, which is a student-run venture capital fund. There's Oasis, which she will talk about at length, an accelerator. And there's the National Institute for Biotechnology in the Negev, which is an accelerator for biotechnology ventures. We also have innovation labs, which are co-sponsored with the Israel Innovation Authority. There's Deutsche Telekom, which is a cyber lab, and there is NL and MasterCard, which are establishing these days a financial security technology lab. Again, all under the auspices of the work that we are doing. So we are doing a lot of work. We are building a tremendous amount of infrastructure to support innovation and entrepreneurship within the Ben-Gurion community. And then came COVID-19, and the prognosis and the predictions of what that would do to the Israeli tech community and to innovation and entrepreneurship were very dire. We were told that it's going to be the end of all the startups in Israel. Within 6 months, they would have no financial backing and no ability to continue on and to get funding and to be able to develop new products. And in fact, today I was at our offices, which are located in the high-tech park of Beersheva, across the bridge from the university, where many of these startups sit, and the offices are completely empty. It's a ghost town. So one would think that would mean that innovation is dead, that the high-tech community has run to a full stop. But quite the opposite is the case. And in fact, there's a very strong feeling and understanding now that it is tech which is going to pull us out of the economic crisis. The tech community is particularly well suited to be able to work from home and to work from Zoom. They're able to continue to raise funding, and in fact, in September, this last month, the largest amount of money raised for Israeli startups was recorded, 1.2 billion, which surpasses any month since we've been counting. So that is sort of an unexpected, I don't know if it's directly connected to COVID-19, but certainly was not expected 6 months ago that we would see the continuation of funding of Israeli startups to this extent. We continue to see innovation coming out of the university despite this COVID crisis. Some of it is COVID related. So we have technologies, including technologies to detect the coronavirus through sewage systems and then be able to isolate those communities or those neighborhoods where there's a high incidence of the virus. We have other technologies that have nothing to do with COVID, such as a device which has just recently won a grant to predict epileptic seizures. This came out of the OASIS accelerator, which Donna will talk about after me. We have another technology based on, that was developed to relate to corona testing, which enables testing many, many more samples much more quickly and much more effectively and cheaply. And I think, as Doug has mentioned, due to these types of technologies and the companies that come out of it, Ben-Gurion was selected as one of the top 50 producers of entrepreneurs in the world. And that's quite an achievement, and we're very happy about that. We're also seeing, despite the COVID crisis, new opportunities knocking at our door and on the horizon. And of course, everybody knows about the deal that was signed between Israel and United Arab Emirates. We see a tremendous amount of potential. We've had a lot of interest from companies from the Emirates who have already been in contact with us to get to understand what technologies we have, where there's investment opportunities, where there's opportunities for licensing.
Josh, we're getting a question from one of our participants, Neil Namer, on this topic. He's asking, in light of your desert tech capabilities and the new peace agreements, do you see giving special focus to desert tech going forward?
So we definitely see giving special focus to desert tech. It's a field that we have pegged for development with no connection to this particular agreement. We are planning on establishing actually a new interdisciplinary faculty of sciences, of environmental sciences, which will relate to desert tech. We have a number of programs that are government sponsored that are helping us to promote desert tech. So definitely one of the areas we're looking at. And obviously with the UAE, there's quite a bit of interest in desert tech. And frankly, they have quite a bit of desert tech of their own as well. So I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for cooperative R&D activities with the Emirates.
Thanks, Josh. Is another related question. Could you explain the difference between desert tech, envirotech, climate tech?
Clean tech, green tech, they all tend to go to there's no clean definition. Certainly desert tech includes desert agriculture, so that would be all the technologies that would enable growing crops in arid climates or in soils which are not arable land. But it also includes being able to harness solar power, for example. It can be ways to enable living spaces, design within the desert, so that you are able to have communities there that are energy self-sufficient. So it sort of encompasses a lot of what used to be called also clean tech, because it has energy components and agricultural components. I don't remember the last, the other one that you were looking at, Doug?
No, thank you very much. Some of our audience may not fully remember or understand that we have 3 campuses. We are the Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, and as you mentioned, 60% of the land of Israel. We have 3 campuses in Beersheba, Sde-Boker, and Eilat. At Sde-Boker, we have the Blaustein Institute for Desert Science and the Zuckerberg Institute for Water Research. So this whole area that you're talking about is really one of the distinguishing competencies of the university.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I can already say, without committing to this, but we are already in talks with certain groups from the Emirates, specifically regarding these technologies that come out of the Blaustein Institute. So there's quite a bit of interest to team up with us and to see how we can work together on developing new technologies in desert tech. There are also new fields of innovation. Desert tech is one of them. I wanted to actually just to briefly mention another one, which is getting a lot of buzz, at least here in Israel, which is called bioconvergence. And bioconvergence is actually the combination of technologies of the biological sciences with engineering, that could be artificial intelligence or machine learning or computing, whether it's inserting microchips into the human body, or whether it's developing new medical devices that include artificial intelligence components or cyber components. So there's quite a bit of interest in this. This is a field that has a dedicated funding from the Israeli government, because the Israeli government sees this as a future field for Israeli expertise. And as a result, Ben-Gurion is very, very interested in promoting this field within our campus, because we believe that we have, more than any other university in Israel, the right competencies. We have a very large and well-known engineering department with all of the big data. We have a very strong biopharma department. We have a major hospital, Soroka Hospital, right next to us. So we are already leading the way in terms of defining projects to do R&D activities in bioconvergence. Again, with funding from the government, but also looking for additional funding and ways to create large projects around this field. So this is a new field of innovation.
Thank you very much. This is so incredibly interesting. And I know you're wrapping up, but we've got another great question from Jim Breslauer, who is on the Board of Governors and also on the AABGU Board of Directors. He's asking if you could explain to the audience, does BGU get ownership or any revenue from these entrepreneurial companies that come out of the university?
In a word, yes. Technologies that are developed through the university are owned by the university. We take we commercialize that, and the money that comes from the commercialization gets divided between the university to fund future research and the researchers themselves who were part of the development of the technology. So in a word, that is in essence what we are doing at BGN. We are looking to take these technologies and find the right partnership or the right commercialization method in order to bring those valuable resources that we can get from that, the royalties payments from using patents or the equity from companies, and bring that into the university to develop more research.
Fantastic. Anything else?
I'm just going to finish up with a slide. Some of you may have seen this in other people's presentations, but I want to show you, when we talk about entrepreneurship and innovation, I think just the idea that Ben-Gurion could be a hub for high tech. If you look back at 2014, when they first began building the high-tech park, you can see the building on the left there with the camels. Those are actual camels grazing around the high-tech park. Today, there are over 3,000 actually professionals in this park, and it is set to expand to include almost 15,000 professionals in the next 5 years. So we're looking at something of a vision that really, I think, captures what the entrepreneurial spirit of Ben-Gurion and of Beersheba is. Thank you very much.
One last question, Josh, and then we're going to move to Donna. Could you just comment on the impact of the IDF moving south and the adjacent IDF campus to us?
Sure. There are a number of different programs that are or events that are happening. One of the major ones is the move of the IDF telecommunications branch next to us, which is going to bring not just thousands of soldiers that are dealing in high-tech topics, but it's also going to create a place for them to work together with researchers from the university. You can imagine, I think everybody knows about the stories of the intelligence units and how the ex-soldiers in the intelligence units then go on and set up startup companies. So we're very, very excited about this development, to have such a large influx of engineers and of high tech come into the area, because we see that as seeding the future for activities that will take us very far into the future, into a growth mode of many more companies.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing now so that I don't take all your time.
Okay, great. That was a great presentation. Really appreciate it. So next up of our panelists is Donna Gavish Friedman. Welcome, Donna.
Hi,
Donna,
everyone.
I know. We're excited to hear from you. Donna is the Vice President of Entrepreneurship, BGN Technologies, and the head of the Entrepreneurship program at Ben-Gurion University. She has a unique job that I think you could call 50% applied tech transfer related and 50% academic in terms of curriculum and education that take our ecosystem to a whole nother level. So Donna Gavish is a primary liaison between the university and business partners, startups, venture capitalists, companies, and multinationals from all over the world. She is also, as I mentioned, responsible for all the entrepreneurship activity under the umbrella of what she'll describe as Yazamut 360. Yazamut means entrepreneurship in Hebrew. This includes tools, opportunities, strategies for students and researchers to take their IP and innovation to another level. Prior to the role that she's in now, Donna spent 13 years at USUM, the technology transfer company of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, which is a great university, but we're not talking about that one here today. She has also worked as a television news producer and as a business development manager for startups and other businesses. Donna holds a BA in political science and literature and an MBA in integrative management from the Hebrew University. Donna, tell us about your great work.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you everyone for inviting me. This is really exciting. I'm hearing names of people in the audience, though I can't see you, that I just so love and appreciate. It's just great to be here. And since you've mentioned my origins coming from Jerusalem, perhaps I should explain why I came to the Negev, which is a little over 3 years ago. I was invited by BGU to start strategizing around entrepreneurship. And I thought that this is something that I didn't do before. And I haven't heard of any other university that actually decided to take entrepreneurship as an agenda for future development. I thought it was a challenge for me, and thought it would be lovely to work at the beautiful high-tech park, which is adjacent to the university. So I moved. It was a big move for me, but I never looked back. And the reason was that when I came, as I said, we started strategizing and looking around and checking what is and what's missing. And then we wrote a plan. We wrote a program. I wrote that together with my chairman of my center, Yazamut 360, Professor Carmel Sofer, who's a staff member and a faculty member of the university. And in that program, we poured all our dreams. We allowed ourselves to dream big. We decided to dream of courses and trainings for students, for researchers. We thought that we'd like to connect with the ecosystem in the Negev and in Israel. We thought of startups and starting them and how we can promote them and gain investments for them. We talked about VCs, we talked about funding opportunities, and we talked about international ties with other universities and with potential funding opportunities. So we poured all that into a paper, and then we submitted it to the Council of Higher Education, and we were lucky to actually get enough funding for 4 years of activities at Yazamut 360, which is our new entrepreneurship center. It's not that new, it's now 2 years of activity behind us. So now I'm gonna share some slides and show you.
Donna, just before your slides, and I don't mean to interrupt while I'm interrupting, but we've got some Q&A. And again, for the audience, if you wanna ask questions, just click on the Q&A button and you can ask them. But you're getting a question from someone you know, Phyllis Bernstein.
Hello.
First, she just compliments you and she says, Donna's such a rock star. Her work is important. Not that Josh and God, you're not rock stars, you are too. But Phyllis is particularly asking, and Jim Brasslauer was on earlier, what's the role of philanthropy in this entrepreneurship? So you're just speaking now about how you've got some funding initially, but what do you need for future funding?
I can skip directly to the end of my lecture and say we need your help. Thank you for the opportunity to say this, because you know I was taught that if you don't ask, you don't get. So I'm gonna put this on the table and be very straightforward. We have funding for the center for the next year or so, but we definitely need your help. And I will tell you exactly what for. I will describe a few programs, and Gadi's here to present leaders. And we will be very particular in what we say about future funding, because what I'm about to show you is that 2 years after writing that program, we have now 5 pillars of activities, and we know what we have and we know what we need in order to continue. So I will be very specific when I finish, and just allow me to show you a few things that we've done and that we're very proud of, I'd like to say. So the first thing I'd like to say, hold on, I didn't share my screen properly, did I? Here we go. So the first thing that we had in mind is the understanding that times are changing. And if times are changing, that means that universities need to stay relevant and continue to teach and be relevant for students in a way that is adjusting with time. And once universities fully focused on academic teaching and on research, now we need to add another layer of learning, which is practical experience. This is something that is expected today. Students are asking to have practical experiences. They see a huge importance in actually gaining this kind of experience in working in teams, in solving problems, in engaging in projects. And that's why we're embedding now, literally changing the DNA and adding entrepreneurship, skill learning into what we do at BGU. So just to mention again, Yazamut in Hebrew means entrepreneurship. And when we started, that was our vision, to literally start embedding the practical experiences and new layer of education into BGU, in order to eventually, the goal is to make BGU a synonym for innovation and entrepreneurship, of course in Israel and internationally. Now I'd like to show you this picture and tell you that, to me, it tells a whole story, and it is a very, very special story. You may ask yourself, what's so special about the Zoom conference? Everybody goes to Zoom conferences. We see them all the time now. But I'd like to say what's special about this picture to me. It was taken in the middle of September, just before Rosh Hashanah, and it shows you a very unique group of people. First of all, what's unique about them? We have 6 researchers here that are presenting at the demo day of OASIS. OASIS is our new acceleration program. It started in May, went on for 4 months, and this is the final demo day where 6 different BGU researchers presented their startups, not their research, their new established startups to the industry representatives. So what we have here are the researchers. We have the research students that are here as a part of the acceleration programs. We have entrepreneurs, mentors from all over the country. We have also supporters and mentors and entrepreneurs from Rhode Island that came through IBM Alpha Zone, our partners in this program. And we have almost 200 people eventually in this audience, venture capitalists, angels, different investors. All of them came to hear of the new startups that are based on the deep technology that is created at our labs. So the first important thing is that we've established a new acceleration program. The second important thing is that, yes, it's on Zoom, but Zoom has now allowed us to bring together a very interesting group of people, and that now simply had a whole course every Tuesday from morning till evening, and they all worked hard to get to this place. The other 2 people that you see here on the right corner are my 2 team members. First is Michel Asayag, who has been at Intel for years. He's a grandfather of 3, huge experience in the industry, had his own startups and he's also an expert in innovative thinking. So he came on board to start OASIS. His co-pilot is Yulia Sagalin, and they both had this fantastic program, as I said, every Tuesday morning till evening, with mentors from all over the country, entrepreneurs that joined the researchers in starting new endeavors. And this is what they all are looking at. They're looking at the researchers that now present not research, startups. These are business pitches that they've learned how to pitch and how to create their own startups and pitch them to VCs. And we've had fantastic response from the industry following this demo day. And I'm actually once I finish talking, I'm actually going to put the link to the whole demo day video if you'd like to check it out and see these lovely pitches that they've had. So we've had 6 companies created and now are ready for investment. And this is a tool that we've created in collaboration with BGN Technologies that owns the IP and that wishes to create startups around the IP. Now we have a new tool to accelerate the science and the deep technologies to the commercial arena. And this is one of 5 very important pillars that we have at Yazamut 360. And as I said, one of our thoughts is that we have to create this education, not only for the students, but also for researchers. One of those startups is the 1-minute coronavirus test that was created by Professor Gabi Sarusi. It's based on terahertz frequency. And this is just an example to one of the startups that presented, that was created at that acceleration program. So what's unique about it?
Is the OASIS Accelerator specifically just for researchers, or can students or members of the Negev community also participate?
So it is for our students. We actually had one group by a student, and the other 5 came from our researchers. And at the moment, we're focused on them because we'd really like to use this OASIS program and course to accelerate the deep technologies that we have at the university. We're now working on cohort 2. The last thing I wanted to mention that is special about this is, of course, the fact that it means that this is how we handled the COVID-19 crisis. For us, it meant that we had to go online. These people never met each other on a real basis, but everything simply went online and moved along. And for me, this is, something which is unique. I never imagined that this would be possible, but it's just great because all our programs now continue, and this is our way of winning this war against COVID until things change in the world. So moving on, as I said, OASIS is one of 5 pillars of what we do right now after 2 years of activity. Leaders you'll be hearing about from Gadi, so I won't steal his time, and I'll just say that this is definitely, this is a new academic program and definitely one of the things that I'm most proud of at our center. And as I said, Gadi will present it. We have Cactus Capital, our VC and tool for investment education for students. And we have a new e-commerce course, which I'll go into very, very briefly in a second. So one of the things that we've established, actually, this was our flag
Donna,
program.
another quick question, and these are great slides, very colorful and all in English. Are your programs all in English, or is there a mix of English and Hebrew?
So some of them are in English, some of them are in Hebrew. It depends on the audience. It depends on the audience. All the slides are in English, that's for sure. I mean, everything is in English anyway. Everything is written in English. And some of the programs are now in Hebrew since, before we have an international audience.
Thank you.
Cactus Capital is a very unique program. It was actually started by our former BGU president, the wonderful Rivka Karmi, who took a huge leap forward about 3.5 years ago and decided to dedicate $1 million for student entrepreneurship. This is something that no other university matched ever since. I don't know any university that decides to actually invest $1 million in student entrepreneurship. And because it was clear to us that we needed to speak with students if directly and in their language and level, we took a student to run the fund. And that student is Roy Kimchi. He was an undergrad student in this last year of his studies. And he came and started the fund. Now the fund has two major goals. The first and foremost, this is an educational experience. Yes, we're investing in student entrepreneurship, but first of all, we'd like to educate them and give them that practical experience of starting a company and working in a team and starting their own endeavor. And what we also did is create a course called the Cactus Academy. And these are the students that were the first cohort of Cactus Academy. They were chosen out of hundreds of students that wanted to actually attend the course. The idea of Cactus Academy is that they will learn how to be student analysts. We are now teaching the students how to be investors, how to create due diligence and check a technology and decide if it's worthy of investment. And once they finish the course, they are now entering a whole year of internship at the fund. So that means that they scout the campus, they bring in the new investment opportunities, and eventually, this is them actually voting at the investment committee. And they're pretty happy to get their own vote and actually decide which other students get their investment. So what we've created is a fund which is run by students. They are educated in a way that gives them the right tools to invest, and eventually they now invest in other student entrepreneurship, students investing in students. What this project created was a huge hype around the campus, which is exactly what we wanted. First of all, on the investment side, now the university says, we'd like to invest in your ideas. This is huge for the students, and they are submitting dozens of ideas every year. It also says to students, we're here to educate you and give you a practical experience and give you the responsibility of taking these practical experiences. Now, these guys that you see on the slides, what they have on LinkedIn, they're changing their titles. And now they're writing down their name and Cactus Capital analyst. They're analysts at the VC now. And this is a completely different title to start work and life. And that's exactly what we'd like to do. Very briefly, I'll just say that we are now interviewing to another pillar, a program that is called e-commerce. Not every entrepreneurial idea or endeavor has to do with technology. We realize that the world is changing, and a lot of what's happening is on the commercial arena is now online. We're now teaching the students, we're starting a course that would teach the students how to start their own shop and sell online. And as you can see from this huge number, these are the number of applicants that we received in like 7 days. And that tells you what kind of experience the students are looking for right now. Very briefly, we have
Donna, we're getting a question
communities.
around none of your pictures featured Bedouin students, and I know the university has 600 Bedouin students, more than any other university in Israel. Do you have Bedouin students that are involved in some of these programs?
Actually, it's interesting that you mentioned that because they're very much involved in our communities. So another pillar of our activity, of course, they're also listening to our project and to our programs, but one of the places that we see them most is actually in the 8 different communities that we now support. What leads us when it comes to communities is say, maybe we don't know the whole story, and the students actually can lead what's interesting for them. Therefore, we decided to actually invest a lot of efforts and also resources in student communities. They are initiating them in different arenas and different vectors And we are now seeing us as supporters for these student communities. And the one that I'm mostly proud of, is this community by the women's entrepreneurship. The student Karen Hod came up to me about 2 years ago and said, I'd like to have a course only for women. And I said, great idea, let's move forward with it. So she received all the support for us. We now had 3 cohorts already over with this course. It's becoming a huge community. As a matter of fact, they're going national right now, and they're starting activity in all the Israeli universities. From the Negev, we've started a women's entrepreneurship community that now goes national and hopefully will go global. So to summarize, today, after 2 years of activity, we have engaged about 2,000 students with our activities. We've started 8 communities. We have our new academic program, which you're about to hear about. We have 26 different startups that were established in the past 2 years through our activities, and obviously dozens of events and other practical experiences. So going back to what we've just said, yes, we do need your help. We need your help in the sense that we'd like to secure these programs. Specifically, Oasis and leaders definitely need your help, and in a way that we can make sure that they will not only be around for the next year or 2 years, but also to actually ensure the fact that we have high quality, excellent practical education for years now to come. And this is something that I would love to have your help with. Also, I would love to have help in other ways, which is also a panel of experts that can help us with the different startups, connect them to potential investors, connect them to potential collaborators and companies. So I think that we'd love to be in touch with whomever thinks that would like to be in touch with us, and I'm happy to hear any further ideas.
Thank you very much, Donna. So maybe you could just stop share and then we'll switch to Gadi. Great presentation. Thank you very much. And we have some more questions building, but I think we're going to switch to Gadi and then we'll come back to questions if we have time. So Gadi Bahat joins us. He's the executive director of the Leaders Program, which is a new program that's actually an academic program about entrepreneurship at BGU, and he'll explain it. He's also the founder and chief executive of BCS Limited, a private consulting firm where Gadi provides strategic consulting services to startups, large organizations, and venture capital groups. Gadi is a seasoned executive and business strategy consultant with expertise in entrepreneurship as well as management at multinational high-tech companies. Gadi got his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the Technion, as well as his MBA in technology marketing from Tel Aviv University. Welcome, Gadi, to #Webinar Wednesday.
Hi, Dan. Good evening. Okay, guys, thank you for inviting me. I am excited and honored to speak here in this honorable forum, and thank you for the opportunity. Maybe I'll go directly. I know the time is short, so I go directly into talking. So I'm going to talk about Leaders. Leaders, what is Leaders? Leaders is basically the new excellence academic program of Ben-Gurion University. And what we aim to do here is we aim to train the next generation of entrepreneurial leadership. And I will explain exactly why entrepreneurial leadership. I just want to mention that this is a joint program done by the Yazamut 360 program and the Guilford Glaser Faculty for Business and Management. We believe that diversity and that multidisciplinary are very important to entrepreneurship and to leadership, and that's the reason why we open the program to all students from all the faculties and all the departments. And this is a program that is aimed to undergraduate students in the last year of studies. So you may ask yourself, did I find a way to turn students into the next Steve Jobs? That would be great. Or maybe I found a way to identify for you the next unicorn. Or maybe I found the Holy Grail. Well, the answer is probably not. It's not that I have a magic, but we definitely can do very nice things with students. So if we take excellent student with basic entrepreneurial and basic leadership skills, we can do many things for them. The one thing we can do is basically amplify their ability and the skills. We can train them and teach them how to use those skills and how to exercise. And now it's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more you use it wisely. We can equip them with great tools, with state-of-the-art knowledge, and we can give them a lot of things that they can play with. We can let them experience entrepreneurship, experience leadership, experience working in an unexpected environment and in many places where they never thought they will go and just by studying in the academy. But more than all, we can empower them. So, you know, students, they need, and basically human beings, they have a lot inside, but they need to believe in themselves. They need to get the ability to go into risky places and to say, yes, I can do it, and try to do it. And that's something we want to do. So if I have to actually capsulate what we are trying to do in leaders, I think we are an accelerator for entrepreneurs. What do I say, an accelerator? You know, the students that go into this program, we had a great selection program. They're all good students. They are very talented. They have a lot of good skills, and they're very ambitious students. So if we put them today in the labor market, or if we put them in a high-tech environment or anything like this, I'm sure they would succeed even without leaders. But if they take leaders and they experience what they do and they get all the knowledge that we give them, we can shorten the time it takes them. So if they go today outside without such a program, it will take them between 3 to 7 years to gain experience, to learn from their mistakes. And what we try to do is to give them this opportunity to get experience, to learn from their mistake at the academy, and then to shorten the time to their success. And this is basically why we say we are an accelerator for entrepreneurs. Today, the world is changing. It's a big challenge, and many things is not enough to be an entrepreneur. Probably it's not a solo dance anymore, and you need to do some other things. You need to collect people around you. You need to convince people. You need to influence them. That's for why we believe that the right combination is not only entrepreneurship, but also leaderships. We want our students, after they finish the program, no matter where they go, whether they open their own startup or whether they go to big companies, to try and create impact, to move and to lead process of entrepreneurship, and by that to change the environment for all of us. So what is included in leaders? There are 4 pillars. The first one is, of course, knowledge. So knowledge they get by academic courses that I will describe in a minute. The second one is the spirit, the mindset, and that we bring by bringing a lot of inspiration. We bring a lot of people from the ecosystem, a lot of people which are entrepreneurs by themselves, which either succeeded very nicely or either failed, because we believe we can learn from both success as from failures. They need practice. So we teach them, we give them hands-on experience on entrepreneurship and on leadership. And the most important, I said, of all, is basically the ability, the spirit, the empowerment, the leadership. And that's we give in a special way that I will describe in a moment. So this is the program. Let me go with you, walk with you into the program and show you what a nice program we built. So we divided the program into 3 semesters, and each semester has its own character. So the first semester is basically identifying opportunities. The second semester is building the business. And the last semester, which is the summer semester, is basically the real life experience. And let me give you a word about the logic. So you wake up in the morning and you have an idea, and it's a great idea. You believe it's going to change the world. And now you have to debate with yourself, should I quit work? Should I devote my life into this idea? How can I evaluate if the idea is good or not? How can I take the risks? So this is what we teach actually in the first semester. How do I identify ideas? How do you create ideas? And, you know, we go into ideation process. We give them tools for handling ideas. And then once you convince that your idea is good, what do you do with it? So you have to check if you have competitors. You have to check the market. You have to capsulate the idea to build a package that you can explain and show everybody about your idea. You have to know how to talk about it. This is the aim of the first semester. There are 2 academic courses. The first one we call the first course From Innovation to Entrepreneurship. And this is basic startup basics. Those are the tools and then the knowledge that you need to know in what's happening in a startup. So from idea into evaluation of the market, into identifying your target customer, into building an MVP, into building a presentation, and so on. The second course is called Trends and Disruptive Technologies. In this course, we actually give them exposure to the state of the art or to the current trends in the world, exposure to what's happening today in different places, in different technologies. For example, two of the trends we are covering are, one of them is food tech, which is very coming up very nicely. And the other one is personal medicine, which is also something that is taking off, especially with the COVID now. In parallel to those two units, which are academic, the student will also divide to groups, and they get a mentor, a business mentor, and they start to build their own startup based on the ideas that they have developed together in the course. And in parallel to those, they have free workshops. I told you that we have a special line of workshops that give them knowledge and content in the area of personal empowerment, in the area of management, in the area of leadership. So for example, in the first semester, they get to build their own personal vision. You know, students usually get out of the college or get out of university and they don't really know where they go. Here we want to teach them that they have to build some strategy and to have to develop their own personal vision. If you want to be a leader, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to know where you're going before you go on to influence others. They also learn storytelling because you have to know how to tell your story. So we teach them how to build a story, how to tell a story, how to influence other people. So this is the first semester, identify and handling opportunities. The second semester is all about entrepreneurship. If you have an idea and you didn't do anything with it, that's only an idea. But if you build a business which brings value, that's entrepreneurship. And this is what we teach in leaders in the second semester. We teach them business strategy, how to build this business, how to design a strategy, a go-to-market strategy, a customer strategy, a product strategy, all around entrepreneurship. And then in the second course, it's basically a toolbox. It's a venture building toolbox. We give them the necessary tools, whether it's legal, finance, human resources, and maybe project management, all the tools they need. And in parallel, as you remember, they already started in the first semester to build their own startup. Now they have a lot of tools to get a startup with more flash. Okay, so they start to build a strategy for the startup. They start to go into the legal issue, the finance issue, and so on. And we won't forget there are another free workshop which deals with leaderships, with how to do your own networking, for example, because most of the people, they don't know how to build a networking. And networking is one of the most important skills you need in entrepreneurship and leadership. So we teach them what is networking, how to build networking. We teach them how to negotiate. So they have a special workshop on how to do negotiation, how to do business negotiation, and so on. The last semester, actually, they take all the knowledge, the academic knowledge, and all the skills they gained, and they are going into an accelerator, life accelerator, and they are building basically either a demo or either a prototype for their startup. And in addition to that, they build investor deck, an investor pitch. And now at the end of the semester, we build them a panel of real investor, and each company present its investor deck and try to gain investments. And now the investor that we bring, give them offering, we give them the way to give the offer, and they have to choose which offer they take. So they have the experience not only of building an investor deck, but also the experience of having a discussion with investor. And in parallel to this, we continue to build the skills in management and in empowerment, and this is what we do. So this is the plan. It's a 1-year plan, and it's 3 semesters. We have today 33 excellent students that are starting this plan next week. So as I said, we walk the walk. We don't not only talk, we walk the walk. We have a fresh and exciting method.
Just to remind everyone, so this program you're talking about is brand new. The semester is just starting for the first time of this year-long curriculum. Is that correct?
Yeah, thank you, Doug. This is a very good comment. This is the first time, the first cohort that is running. It's our first semester and we're starting next week, but we are already excited, and it's really, really going to be something unique.
And did you model this curriculum after some other university, or did you come up with this on your own?
So we believe to take the best from everyone. We did a thorough work to see how entrepreneurship and leadership is being taught, you know, in Israel, but also in leading universities in the world, Stanford, MIT, Oxford, and many others, and INSEAD. And we basically built this own program, and we took the best of everything, and we also brought our own knowledge from the Guilford Glaser and from other people in the Israeli ecosystem. And I think this is really tailored to the way we understand and see entrepreneurship in the world today. We also had a lot of consulting with some other people worldwide. I will mention some of them. It's a good opportunity. Jim Braslauer gave us golden advice about the program. Terry Alpert, which I believe is part of this community, we spent with her some time, and she gave us very nice advice. And also she agreed to be an advisor and entrepreneur in residence in our program. And also Dror Berman, a partner in innovation in Dover. So Eric Schmidt is also a consultant, and we advise with him. So we really spend a lot of time to get knowledge from academy, knowledge from entrepreneurs, knowledge from people which are in the ecosystem of the high-techs, and we try to build all around it.
Thank you, Gadi. Both Terry, by the way, and Jim, as we mentioned before, are participating in this webinar.
Oh, hi, Terry and Jim. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that.
So Gadi, I think if you're done, or just wrap up and then stop the share so we can close the program. Right. We're almost out of time.
I'll do this. Just 1 second. Here you are.
Incredible. Okay, this hour just flew by. We have 4 minutes left. We do have a number of questions. We're not going to get to all of them. So we will do our best, if you've asked a question, to submit those to our panelists and get back to you. But let me just ask a couple of things and start maybe with you, Gadi, because you're still new and can be objective. The rest of us have maybe drinking a lot of Ben-Gurion Kool-Aid. We talk sometimes about the university and this ecosystem as being the Stanford of the Middle East. Are we kidding ourselves? Or is Ben-Gurion University really starting to perform at that level from an entrepreneurship standpoint?
I actually believe it's outperforming. I think there is a big change in the last years. And, we just saw the last grades, we just went up and PitchBook, I think 2 or 3 stages up, and 3, Donna is correcting me, 3 stages up. And I really, I'm not coming from the academy, I'm coming from the high-tech and the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I was amazed to see how much work has been done and how people are now start to speak the language, start to speak the jargon. It's very important. They are very good and talented people, and I think the level is very, very high. And I'm sure that, in a year or 2, people will be teaching what we are doing. That's, I'm sure for that.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, we're going to wrap up, but I just want to throw a quick question to you, Donna, and to you, Josh, because everybody talks about an ecosystem, and I've changed the virtual background to show our physical proximity. Just in a couple of words, tell us about what's unique about the ecosystem around Ben-Gurion University.
I think this is a great chance to describe what we call now the Innovation District. There's a new plan for Be'er Sheva, and it's happening. It's not just a program or something that someone wrote down, with real financing by the government to create the first innovation district in Israel. Why was Be'er Sheva chosen? Because it has the best elements very close together. The university, Soroka Hospital, IDF units that are moving to the Negev, very, very close to everything. The high-tech park, public transportation as the train railroad that we see on your slide just behind you. Everything is in very close proximity. All these, putting them together, we create a great ecosystem. The Innovation District is gonna kind of bring everyone together and actually have them talk to each other and meet, hopefully, at a regular basis. So that is the plan.
Thank you very much. So we need to wrap up. Josh, you're going to have the last word on the ecosystem or anything you'd like.
Well, I have to tell you that I live in Tel Aviv and I work in Be'er Sheva, which is probably the opposite direction of most people. Most people are living out of Tel Aviv and coming into Tel Aviv. My commute's about an hour a day. And at this point, I'm thinking about why am I living in Tel Aviv? Because I think that Be'er Sheva is, I did take that Kool-Aid. Be'er Sheva is the future. And what you're showing behind your map, when that becomes a reality, there's going to be a lot more people moving there.
All right, thank you very much. So it is now 1 p.m. Eastern Time. 8 p.m. in Israel. We thank all of you for joining us. David Ben-Gurion, the founder and first prime minister of Israel, and who I call the number two Jew all time, and the person who has his name on the door of our university, once said that all that has been accomplished in this country, meaning Israel, is the direct result of dreams made to come true by the virtue of vision, science, and pioneering capacity. Today, we thank you, Donna, Josh, Gotti, for your work and your pioneering capacity to help the next generation, the current generation, and the next generation flourish and make Israel what it can be. Thank you all for joining us. Stay safe and be healthy.